So I have made a few motorcycles in Trailmakers, and I think I'm decently good at it, like we see in this one. But I've also made ones of other styles. Here we have a bit of a futuristic motorcycle, and this one has an anti-gravity system. If I press space to kind of alleviate gravity, now this can help it like do a wheelie if I'm just starting, and it can also help it do tricks midair. Like if I go off this is ramp and then trigger my thing. Oh, we got a little bit broken, but we can do a lot more tricks in the air. And then I have a third version, which I'm going to drive over to, which is a bit more... It's not the same style, per se. It's kind of this style, and I built this when the Skull and Flaming Hat came out in October. So this is basically just a Ghost Rider bike that's pretty fast and does a wheelie. And it does use a piston glitch, which we will be going over today. But I figured that since I've seen a few different... Well, not seen. Since I've made a few different motorcycles, I might as well make a tutorial for them. So, because it's one of the weirder shapes to work out with, we're going to use the motorcycle seat first, and then we can kind of take a piston here. I'm gonna put it like that. We can go ahead and configure it, set the start position to 0 and the speed to -100, just because that is the fastest, and it will spawn in basically before you can even realize it, it spawns in closed. So then we can kind of fill out part of like a motorcycle like this. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is add a gyro here. Oh, gyros don't like being clipped, forgot about that. So we're gonna add a gyro back here. Then we can rotate this and start to get some of the shape more filled out. I wonder what happens if we do some of that. And then let's make this kind of have a tank on it. So something like that should work. And if we just rotate that and add this here, then we can have this on both sides. Spawn that in. I think that's actually one lower than I wanted it to be. That means that we can raise this up by 1. Put that there. And then you have kind of a motorcycle tank going on. We can kind of fletch that out a little bit, make it trail off towards the bottom. I think I am going to rotate these like that. No, I think I'm gonna straight up just get rid of these. And then swap in for a fairly new part, the... Where is it? This. I think this looks like a really decent motorcycle, like, gas tank, per se. And I think it works as a good base. Probably have that there. Also connect that using one of these grid blocks. You could use normal blocks here, I just use grid blocks because they're lighter and generally, like, they take up less space. So that's kind of nice. So then we have a basic body for that here. We have a stabilizer, and we have that. So now what I'm going to do is put in some more tech. This can be used as both a wheelie bar function, and I'm also going to put a NOR gate in here, because Trailmakers does a weird thing with motorcycles and makes them randomly lean forwards on their, like, front wheel. So we're just going to put this like that. If we want to, we can put a stronger signal in, maybe have a signal strength of 3 on left shift, so that'll be the wheelie button, and then we put this to 0.33, so this is only acting with 1 force on that. So that way it'll act with 1 force. Once we make this heavier, I don't think it's gonna automatically do that. But for now it is. As you can see here, if I get in it and then hold left shift, you go a lot faster, because that is going to be the wheelie button. I think I'm gonna move this all 1 forwards. like so. Maybe move that too. And those. Yep, that works out. I am going to temporarily disengage that, so we're not constantly just rolling backwards. And then, this is kind of in the way, per se. So, I'm gonna try and fletch this out a little bit more. One thing you can also do is I'm going to move this gyro logic to over here. And then, once I have it over here, I can move this gyro to completely replace this, so the gyro, that gyro is more in place, and then you can have another of the panels like that, right there. And then as you can see, we're kind of getting the start, like the decent basics of a motorcycle run. I wonder what happens if I put this down here, and then fletch this out like that. Well, it's not going to do that. I'm going to rotate that. I'm going to rotate it so that it's not connected to that, which will disconnect all of this. So it's going to look better, but it's going to be a bit less stable, and then connect that with a flat connector. Not half bad. Another good thing I can do here is I'm going to... This edge doesn't line up perfectly. I don't think it really has to. Your brain kind of fills in the gaps and makes it like, oh, that's working fine, just fine. Now we have to move on to the steering mechanism. Well, typically piston clipping something like this, where it's already got its own physics thing on it, into something is not good. That one went on top, so it's like generally fine. But if we have it over here and then down, it's not going to like that very much, and it's going to try and apply a force that it's getting from your stuff. So we're just going to have that on the end of this here, right out of range for it to clip through, like so. Now I'm actually going to lower that by 1, and then start work on some of the pipe work for the handlebars. I'm going to start off with a T-joint right there, followed by 2 more T-joints, so that we can have basically just this extend outwards like that. Although I am going to do something just really quick to make this look a little bit better. I'm going to extend this out by 1, add that, rotate that so that the green side is facing upwards, and then I'm going to just completely delete the controls. And then I'm going to hook up the NOR gate into that, like so. So that, hopefully, if it's hooked up correctly, which I think it did. Oh, that's on 0.33, so we're going to have to set the angle up and the speed up. 0.33 really doesn't do much on steering hinges. So I'm actually going to give this its own separate NOR gate, because steering hinges behave weirdly with that small of numbers. Put that in like that, and 1. Don't forget to cycle this back down to... Let's give it a 25-degree angle. And then we can fulfill this out a bit. And then, because of how we have this, we can just add the wheel straight on here. And then we can take a motorcycle wheel right there and detach it right there. As you can see, it is angled outwards a little bit. Now, I don't particularly like that one that is angled like that, so it's going to rotate. I guess that's more realistic. But I don't particularly like that the wheel is so far forward, so I'm actually going to delete this completely, and then move this inwards. Shift these two up here, and shift this down, so that we can have another T-joint here. and then we can put another little connection on it, but that's just a way to make it a little bit closer to the body of the thing. As you can see there, now it's a lot closer, and it rotates like a motorcycle. We can then connect this up. That's probably enough before we have another T-joint right here and here. I'm going to connect those with its own pipe. How does that look? I would say like right in line for motorcycle, but I am going to see what it looks like moved down by one. Oh yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm going for here. You can have yours at whatever height you really want it at, but this one I'm gonna have it at that. And then you could have some longer handlebars there, but I prefer to use the shorter tube slope right here. This is the 1x1x2. So it kind of looks like that. And then we actually need some engines in here too. Now, engines can be either hard or simple to add as you see it. If you want to make it faster, you're going to have to sacrifice, not going to have to, but it's easier to sacrifice detail in order to help that. But I'm just going to add an engine back there. And then we can get some further detail like so. And then we can actually start attaching, like, the back wheel. Because right now it's just basically just a one-wheeled motorcycle just driving around. Now, there's several ways to attach this back wheel. I think because the connection points over here are limited, because I would have to have something sticking out from here, and there's not really even an attach point there, and I kind of want the wheel to be like right here. I'm actually going to use up here as a basic connection point, so I'm going to put on that there. And then... okay, do I want the wheel to be right there? Let's see what happens if we put the wheel right there. I accidentally moved that one, but if we duplicate this, we can get a wheel right there. Move this back up. Okay, now that's too high. So what I'm going to do is... I also think it was a little bit too far forwards from that. Because, like, it's... I don't think it's that too far forwards. We're going to actually have to end up moving this layer with that. But if this is right there, then we can move this down, and this connection point right here is getting in the way, so let's just delete that. And move this over to here, where we can get a pipe block. And put it... well, I guess that's in the way, so... we can probably use something with pipes right here. And here. Use the same piece that we took from that. Put that into there. Then how's that for a motorcycle? Not bad wheelbase. I have decided that now that it's this fleshed out, I do want to raise that some. I don't think that's that bad, but it's not looking perfect yet. I don't think that's the right piece for that, so maybe we can get some sort of 1x2 in, maybe? No, I don't think that we need that at all. Maybe switch that to a 2x1. Yeah. And then we can start working on a basic, like, tail for the motorcycle. For this, I'm actually going to take off what I did there. Maybe add it back on the sides there, so it looks like that. But I honestly don't really think we need that. We can kind of get a... I want to see what a 3 looks like. That's not bad, but we will have to make it up when we make the back part here. Which, I don't know if I should have it curve around or have it just stick up like a dirt bike has. So I'm actually going to do a bit of both. And put a 2x1 there so it looks like that. I do think that we should curve it back down and around. So what we can do for that is kind of just take a point, hook up basically this same exact thing right there. Just flip this around so that it'll be down. This is going 25 degrees. Let's give it 30 degrees. And hook the same NOR gate into it like it is. And then that kind of rounds out that. I have decided that these should probably be something closer to that, though, for this. So here you can see we have a decently filled out motorcycle. However, what I am going to do is, I think I'm going to switch back to the layout being closer to that, so that I can move this gate up here, and just completely remove these, which gives us the perfect place to put our engine right there. And then we can kind of round that out more later. As you can see, the gyro back here is not strong enough. We kind of just tipped over immediately. I'm going to give that a strength of 4. And that's pretty good there. Now, one other thing is, if you want the motorcycle to like, tilt, then you want to have this on a separate control. Then, like, you want to have this on its own steering hinge, so I'm just gonna do that just real quick for now. Like that. Oh, that's not connected to anything. We're just gonna replace that with a 2x1, or 1x2 right here. Oh, that did not behave well with how that physicsed. So we're gonna move that down 1, and just move that down. Just for demonstration purposes. So as you can see, if I tilt that left, we tilt right. If we tilt that right, it's pretty much all can go because it's locked by the other physics object being this area right here. So I'm going to delete that for now. And then another thing you could do, or like a different thing you could do for making your motorcycle turn, is have a different gate like this, so that when you have right pressed or left pressed, it just automatically fights the thing. Which isn't a bad idea, but I don't think we have that much space for it right now, and you can kind of tune the strength of this. I think that was a bit of a sharp angle, so I'm going to try 2. So it's kind of doing that. As you can see, the front wheel has basically no weight on it right now, so it's kind of skidding out. For now, at least, I'm going to remove that. Then we have basically all we need. I do want to see what happens if I make that not just curved like that. I wonder what happens if we connect that like that. I think that looks better. I am going to delete that, find something that'll connect more. For now, I'm gonna remove that, put this down, move that back by 1, and then we can have this, and I'm gonna put a plate, a shield block right there. How does that look? Honestly, I think it looks not bad, but I think that this is a bit too, like, extended. Okay, so I swapped out these parts right here for 2x1s instead of 3x1s, and I swapped this out for a cone. And this is not super gonna allow us to wheelie, so I wonder what I can have in place with that cone. You know what, that seems really funny. What happens if we just have a tooth there? I think it fits decently well, and then we can have the wheelie button at left shift. You can't really turn when doing a wheelie, but that's just accurate. You'd have to lean to do it, which this one isn't super. And as you can see, the double steering hinges in the front there almost acts as a sort of suspension when we take jumps. They're very high strength right now, so I bet if I take this, configure both of these by control clicking, we can kind of turn the steering help is fine. the strength down to, let's say, 40. And then that should make them resist less, which should make them less bouncy. It seems to have made it a bit more bouncy, actually. It's a bit of fine-tuning when it comes to that. Because it depends on, like, a lot of things and how you did the weld groups and how it hits the stuff. But for now, I'm just gonna turn the strength back up, because I wasn't actually that mad at what was happening before. Well, you know, let's start to 10 strength for now. Just as a Hail Mary. It seems to have hit decently well. Let's try going off of this ramp. It definitely does flex back a lot. So what happens if we have this one be full strength and the one after it kind of absorbing the shock? Little bounce, and then... yeah, that's not perfect. We're gonna set them both back to... how did 100 do? Because I feel like 100 was really bouncy. Oh, I guess it's not too bad. We don't currently have a tilt-down control, we only have the wheelie button, so I'm actually going to set left control to a tilt-down control. So I can wheelie, and then I can tilt back down, if I need to. Especially, like, mid-air, that helps a lot. And I can tilt down. And looking at this, I think this actually needs to be a higher angle. Let's try 35, maybe? Oh yeah, that's kind of nice. And then you're kind of leaning forwards on the bike, which I think just looks cooler. Except it didn't take that jump super well, so I'm gonna wheelie a little bit beforehand. I don't fully know why it's colliding with the little, like, texture on the ramp. But it is driving really well. I did switch back to these. It used to be like this. I'm now switching back to them like that, because I think that looks generally better on the bike. And I wonder if I can now get away with having shorter handles, because it's more tilted. You can kind of do that. It still feels like a little bit low, but the other one felt too high. So I think what we're going to do here is have suspension in a non-conventional fashion. It's kind of going to look like, and if we can support this, connecting that to there, so it's kind of going to look like it's suspension for the wheels. But it's really just to get the handlebar the length that we want, so if I want to set the stiffness to like 0.10. I don't think it's all really compressing that much. How about, what happens if we just set it to 0? And what happens if we screw with the damping as well, set that to 0? It doesn't super seem to be affecting it, but I do think it is a nice detail. Although I might shift it down one, because this also acts as a T-joint. Then we can kind of connect that there. Yeah, I think that's probably the best of both worlds there. Then we can kind of take that ramp, spin, and then I am going to reduce the strength of this to half, 1.5. That way you have to be driving to do a wheelie. How does 1.5 feel? So I'm pressing it, wheelie, and then I don't think 1.5 is enough. How about 2? 2. Okay, pressing it. Oh, 2 is doing it on its own, which honestly not that much of a bad thing. Okay. I don't super like how this back part turned out, so I'm going to delete those and see what I can do with maybe like a shield here. How does that look? Yeah, I think that shield is probably the right way to go. So now we have like a basic motorcycle, and you can kind of paint this up however you want. I typically paint them like darker colors, and you can paint some of the engine components more grays. Not more grays, but like more silvers. I like to use the metallic or the iridescent, but I'm gonna paint that white so it's more silver. There. That is just like flaring like that. So I wonder if I can make that a little better. What happens if that's like this shade? Oh, that's too dark. That shade seems a lot better. I'm going to swap this one again to the gray. I think it just fit better. And you can also do things like, say I want to have a tailpipe coming out of here, you can just grab one from the exhaust section. Oh, let's use this one because it has the side connection. Just attach that onto there. Now you have a basic tailpipe going out of it. You can wheelie. If I stopped, hit it, and then yeah, you can do a wheelie. And then I typically like to have the handlebars also painted the same silver, just because. Metallic. And then you can kind of have these be black, kind of whatever grips you want them to have. Carbon fibers, typically a good one for me. And you can hide this snore gate however you like. You can have it face straight down and everything will still be connected. And then you can kind of add whatever you like. One thing I see commonly on this is putting that over it. And then it kind of just looks like a head, although that seems to have broken things violently. So I'm gonna delete that for now. I believe that was this. It could have been the... yeah, that... the game's a little bit finicky when it gets to piston clipping and using steering hinges for this kind of thing. But yeah, there we have it. A semi-decently working, but semi-volatile, as it is, motorcycle and Trailmakers. Thank you for watching. If you would like to, subscribe. That would really help me out. I think I got like 30 from my last video, which is insane, because that was like a third of what I had before. And goodbye.